Welcome to Let's Play Rule the Waves 3 as Germany, starting in 1935. It's the beginning of 1956. This is episode 82. And yeah, if you've noticed, I've poked my eye too severely and made it bleed, but it's fine. There's no pain at all. It just looks like I've been in consort with the devil or something. 1956. So we're going to have a little look at 1955, year in review. And then, in particular, we are going to digest some of the new tech developments that came tumbling out at the end of last year. Missile submarines, they're going to get constructed. Heavy SAMs, they're going to be put onto the battle cruisers and onto the heavy cruisers. And probably most wide-rangingly of all, helipads. So the whole ASW thing has gone through a revolution. I'm going to unpack that as far as I can. It is a bit opaque, but I think we can work out some of the stuff of what's going on there. Let's have a quick look, first of all, with the past year. So, 1955. So, yeah, we brought out the last of the modern light cruisers, missile armed. I think we need one more because I'm lacking one for one of my light cruiser groups, air defense groups that I have protecting the carriers. So I'll probably just knock off an additional Königsberg, which was the last of my light cruiser, or maybe a slightly improved one if there's some stuff I can do, like add a helicopter. We were starting to work on the corvette and destroyer escorts for the Trade Protection Force. That is definitely going to have to increase quite a bit. And perhaps more importantly, or more priority, we're going to have to look at the fleet destroyers, because a lot of the older fleet destroyers are now providing a quite inadequate level of ASW protection. We are halfway through developing a reliable heavy jet fighter, and also we are researching a reliable jet attack to give ourselves second generation jets that, just work better. I've already mentioned this ASW revolution. Also, I've been preparing for a long time for the whole spacious accommodation thing. It really is a thing. I mean, my father-in-law joined HMS Manxman in the late-ish 1950s, an Abdeel mine layer from World War II, and he literally had to sleep in a hammock in very uncomfortable positions. And when he left and joined HMS Euryalus, a Leander-class frigate, he was stunned and amazed by the level of comfort of actually having his own bunk, even if it was shared and everything. I've trimmed the air bases and the air squadrons and reorganized the fleet to properly accommodate for the new big fleet carriers. I did some officer reassigning in order to basically winkle out any below average performers and to match specialists with the right specialism. So, gunnery experts with gunnery divisions and aviators with carrier ones. And I've done some loose next war planning, maybe Britain, and then after Britain, capture Canada and then take on America. What can go wrong? In terms of techs, aluminium superstructure, that's really going to help with some of the weight problems. Electronic gunnery computer is just an accuracy thing. We've mentioned the missile submarine. Integrated radar direction brings together heavy and medium AA. I've discussed previously, I abandoned heavy AA too quickly. Aerial data link is going to help with things like CAP, and I expect it will also help with helicopters acting as radar extenders, and indeed when they get their own light missiles. Improved jet bombers, the helipad and the heavy SAM. So all good, rich stuff. In terms of the numbers, the budget's gone up 46,000 from its peacetime post-war depth. Construction, we're at minus 14. That's purely an artifact of waiting for some of these key techs to come along. Funding, we've got nearly 88,000 now in reserve, which is lucky because we're going to be sending a lot of stuff to the shipyards. Only 8 extra new techs, but a lot of them are really, really important ones. In terms of the diplomacy, we are pretty much in the same place. I mean, if anything, slightly better. So we're slightly more peaceful to the French because the French fear us, and rightly so. And we're slightly worse against Britain, but otherwise, nothing very much to worry about. Okay, that's 1955. The big focus, as I've said, is going to be on the ASW. So let's have a quick look at that. So I'm going to have a little look at Z130, which is my most recent fleet destroyer class, a 1953 entered service class. And it appears to have 3 ASW values, an adjusted one of 9, a nominal one of 14, and a what I'm calling design one. This is the value in the build screen of 11. And the design one, by being able to take off and add in different things, is the most obvious to be able to work out. So it appears that a destroyer, certainly a modern destroyer, has an intrinsic ASW value of 5, because if you take off all the ASW weapons, you're still left with 5 as a destroyer design. The enhanced sonar gives you 2 more. The torpedoes, if you've got at least 2, gives you 2 more. If you have more than 2, it still only gives you 2. The towed arrays will be great, but they're not here yet. They're not due till at least 1960. And helicopters, I haven't got any because I've only just developed the helipad, but if I add 1, that would be an extra 3 ASW. If I add 2, that would be an extra 5. And if I added 3, that would be an extra 6. And if I added more than 3, it wouldn't add anything extra in terms of ASW anyhow. The depth charges are now deprecated. They don't add any value either in the depth charge throwers or the increased depth charge storage. I don't think they cause any minus impact. They're just wasted weight. Equally, mines don't add anything to ASW, although I believe in strategic ASW, the trade protection area, it does impact the submarine warfare. So that's what I'm calling the design ASW, and I can see where Z130 gets its 11 points from. And when I refit it, I will add 1 or 2 or 3 helicopters, and that will push up this design figure. The adjusted ASW is adjusted for crew quality and obsolescence. So crew quality, you can sort of infer. Obsolescence, it doesn't define what that means. So for the Z130s, all of my Z130s have a crew quality of good at the moment. So possibly, if they were elite, there wouldn't be a -2 between the design and the adjusted, possibly. I've also, and we'll have a little look at this in a moment, suspect that there might be a thing for radar. So if you don't have the best radar, that might bring down your ASW factor. And there appears to be something for hull age, because the figures for ships designed in the 1940s and the 1930s is much less. Whether this is a representation of hull quieting or something like that, I don't know, but it's definitely a thing in the adjustment. The nominal ASW value is frankly a mystery. There's no mention of it in the manual, and I've had a little dot around some of the forums, and I haven't seen any reference to it. If you have, please do drop a comment and let me know. All that I can imagine is that it's a theoretical maximum if I added a helicopter to the Z130, now that helicopters and helipads are available, my value would go up from 11 to 14. So it's a measure of potential. So the Z130 is actually worth 9, given the current crew quality, could potentially be worth 14, but is designed to have 11. Now, that's a bit of a guess, and I could be wrong, and please let me know if I am. If we go into the game and have a look, we can see some of this stuff going on. So, for example, for these big carriers, they have crew qualities of only good at the moment, which actually is quite good because, you know, they are quite reasonable. So they've worked themselves up fully and they've gone from, you know, poor to fair to good. So I'm, you know, pleased with that. However, if we look at the corresponding carriers' air groups, although actually they haven't quite reached their max numbers yet, although they're getting there, but the special squadron, although it's full strength, is only fair in experience. So that might be the thing pulling those down, because all 3 special squadrons are currently only at fair. So that's the probable reason why the adjusted ASW for the big carriers is only 10, whereas the nominal ASW is 15. If we go down to the destroyers, let's just bring these up, you can see here's the Z130 I've been talking about, adjusted of 9, nominal of 14, design of 11. But if we have a little look at, now, all of my crews are of good quality at the moment, which for looking at examples is not very helpful. But if we have a look at Z56 here, it has an adjusted of 4, a nominal of 8. If we open it up for design and have a look, you can see it's got an actual design ASW of 7. So what the additional nominal ASW of 1 would be, I simply don't know. The adjustment, well, it is a 1938 era destroyer, so whether there is that hull form going on. Also, it only has a quality 3 radar at the moment, so whether that also is dragging down the ASW, because if we have a look at its sister Z58, which hasn't been modernized, you can see that its radar is at 2, and its actual adjusted quality is only 1. In other respects, if we open it up, you can see it's got the same, you know, design ASW, but is currently limited to 2 radar. So it's possible that radar is having an impact. It's possible that the age of the hull is having an impact. The crew quality between the 2 is exactly the same. So that's not the thing that is the difference between the 2, although it might be one of the reasons why the adjusted ASW is lower than the nominal. And of course, the other thing is neither of these ships have enhanced sonar. So that might be a big reason for taking it off or reducing the ASW value. You can see here the Albatross and the other Z61s have radars of 4. They too don't have enhanced sonar. They have a slightly better ASW value than the other ones. So yeah, it's well, as I said, it's a bit opaque, but I'm going to go through and adjust some of these and see what we can do, because clearly, although these destroyers are all 1950s fleet destroyers, the rest are, you know, 1944s, 45s, 40, 41, down to 1930. We're going to have to put our hands in our pockets and build some new fleet destroyers to help improve that. And ditto for the ships that would otherwise be on trade protection. And we're going to need some enhanced ASW for trade protection. Now, yeah, this is the strategic ASW, not the tactical one. Obviously, the planes will help. And if we go to our air groups, we can see the total ASW is currently 29. So yeah, that could be a little bit better. If we go to our aircraft types, let's just bring that in, we can see that we've got 38 in service. So whilst I've been trying to save money, I might have to increase that up to the 48, which is the number of aircraft authorized. I don't know what that means. Because I can't imagine that any of our squadrons are actually lacking. If we go to my air groups and go to all and sort, and there they are. Oh, okay. Well, that's a bit odd. Lots of them only have 3, as opposed to the 4 that they are allowed. Even though we've got 31, I think it was, in the stockpile. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with those. But I'm just going to increase their number, not the Reykjavik, from 4 to 6. And yeah, just encourage a little bit more ASW-ness. So that's increased the ASW value to 44 when that finally goes through, which is good. But yeah, ASW is going to need some attention now that we've had this big change. So here's a sort of maximalist design, and frankly, it's just not working. I can't get a top-notch air defense, surface strike, and ASW fleet escort ship onto 3,500 tons. Well, let's just take you through it. So 33 knots seems to be, not unreasonable. Normal engine priority. I've had to go to diesels, which are more expensive than oil and turbine, but save on weight. Not by much, but every little helps. I've only been able to fit a couple of 4-inch guns, which I'm very not happy about. Auto-loaded, dual-purpose, naturally. A couple of light AAs, more placeholders than anything else, waiting for close-in weapon systems. Although, actually, that might be quite a long way from now. Okay, so close-in weapon systems don't occur until 1970, so we can just take that off. That's not really happening. I mean, it's as much a feel-good factor as actually going to shoot down a plane or a missile. 4 torpedoes, fine. 10 mines, okay. Probably, divided as to whether that's actually necessary on a fleet. On a trade protection, yes. Increase the number of mines in an area. ASW mortars, enhanced sonar, ASW 14 with a helicopter, with a helipad, with a hangar. Yes, you do want the hangar because otherwise its serviceability will go down. I can do double surface-to-surface missile launchers now with double reloads. But again, I've had to compromise here, so I could have 4 quite easily. So for a volley of 8, with 8 reloads, I mean, that's a fair old thing. But I've had to compromise on that. I haven't compromised on the ASW. Well, other than, I could have a second helicopter, which would take our value up to 16 instead of 14. Definitely had to compromise on the guns and on, heavy AA of 5, very poor. So I'm going to have to specialize. So I just need to think, what kind of specialism would I like? Okay, I've been doing a lot of musing, a lot of analysis, not much action, but I've got to a point where I think I understand the problem and I've outlined some solutions and I'd love your feedback. So first of all, I thought it would be good to just look at the bits and bobs that I've got to play with. What could I notionally fit into a destroyer? And here are the various systems. here are their capabilities in anti-air warfare, anti-surface warfare, and anti-submarine warfare. So 6-inch guns, I mean, yeah, they can do a bit of heavy AA, but they're not very good at it. Anti-surface warfare out to 14,000 yards, obviously no ASW. 3, 4, and 5-inch guns are all pretty good at heavy AA. 5-inch is optimal, but 3 and 4 aren't bad at all. They have anti-surface ranges out to 11, 12, and 13,000 yards approximately, respectively. Medium AA is, of course, a thing. I've highlighted this in green because I think this is a key technology because it provides both air defense and some element of missile defense, and anything that gives you some missile defense is a good thing. Light AA I've put into grey, much as I've done with the 6-inch guns, because yeah, it sort of does, but not really. Not anymore. Its day is past. I would normally put a couple of light AAs in just almost as placeholders for close-in weapon systems, although that's probably a bit pointless because they're not due to arrive until about 1970. So, 15 years or so from now, a decade and a half. Heavy surface-to-surface missiles, obviously no AA, no ASW, they are good out to whatever your radar range is, which outranges these guns, by the way. Medium surface-to-surface missiles aren't due till about 1963, so another 8 years or so. Torpedoes, which I had assumed were a slightly archaic weapon system, have a new lease of life. They are good out to at least 13,000 yards. That's with non-oxygen fueled. With oxygen fueled, the doctrine screen says that it has extra range, but it doesn't actually say what that extra range is. So if you have non-oxygen, then they have a range of 13,000. If you have more than 2, they provide 2 ASW as well, which is very handy. ASW rockets, another 2 ASW. The enhanced sonar, another 2. I believe this is an enabler, and so I put it in green. That could be wrong. The helicopter, from 61, it will enhance your air-to-air warfare because of the boost in radar range that it will give you. And ditto in terms of anti-surface warfare, it will increase this surface-to-surface missile radar range by being able to boost your radar range. And in 1960, it will be able to carry light air-to-surface missiles to provide a secondary anti-ship missile capability as well as your surface-to-surface missiles, which is nice. It also immediately right now provides you with 3 ASW if you have 1 helicopter, 5 if you've got 2, and 6 if you've got 3. So, helicopters, I've seen a lot of anti-helicopter stuff because they're expensive, but certainly after 1961, they are fantastically useful in all directions and pretty useful in ASW right now. Then radar itself impacts all of these areas, and you need to make sure you're using the finest radar that you can do. Mines, I think they provide anti-surface and anti-submarine warfare capabilities, but at the strategic trade protection kind of level, not necessarily on the tactical battle level. So those are the bits and bobs we have to play with. I then thought it'd be interesting to just do a little study of what if we designed a single purpose destroyer that maxed out what you could do for anti-air warfare, anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface warfare. So there were some things that are taken for granted. I wanted to do 33 knots. I wanted those 33 knots to be at normal engine priority, not speed. Spacious accommodation, of course. For the maxed anti-air warfare and the maxed anti-surface warfare, we had to use the complete tonnage of 3,500. For the max ASW, we could get away with just 3,000. So For the MAX anti-air warfare, well, first of all, I've been hoping for medium SAMs, and actually, it's not until 1960. So when we get 3,800-ton destroyers. So I just need to let that go. That's not happening for a while. So until that happens, we'll have to rely on cruisers for our SAMs. And then for our destroyers, we've got to rely on guns. 5-inch guns, if you equip with 8 with, say, 300 rounds of ammo, you can get 26 heavy AA, including 4 directors. If you use 4-inch or 3-inch, that heavy AA goes down to 23, and if you use 6-inch, it goes down to 18. You can put on 4 mediums. 4 mediums is sort of the optimal. A couple of lights, because romantic, waiting for close-in weapon systems, which aren't happening. For max single-use ASW, we could get the ASW value up to 17. I mean, for comparison, the Special Squadron on an aircraft carrier has a maximum ASW of 15. That does involve 3 helicopters, as well as having a couple of destroyers, a couple of torpedoes, as well as the enhanced sonar and the ASW rocket. Maxed anti-surface warfare can have 8 heavy surface-to-surface missiles in 4 twin mounts. It can have 4 reloads. It can't have the full 8 reloads because of, well, first of all, topside space. They just take up too much space. And secondly, reloads are really heavy. They're much heavier than just missiles in the tube. So with 8 tubes and 4 reloads, you can have 6 6-inch guns, 260 rounds, as well as 10 torpedoes as well. Now, these would all be very unbalanced designs because they only do one thing. Long gone are the days when a destroyer just did one thing. So we need to have some sort of mix of capabilities. So I've done 2 design studies. The first one is primarily ASW with secondary anti-air and anti-surface warfare capabilities. So here we are. It's 3,600, 33 knots at normal priority. The accommodation is spacious. I could have turned this into diesel. In fact, I probably forgot to turn it into diesel, which would give us an extra 40 tons or something to play with. So some of these could have been lifted a little bit. 2 5-inch guns with plenty of rounds, dual capable auto loading, gives us a heavy AA of 4, 3 mediums, couple of lights, which is not great in the AA department, but it's a little help, as well as 4 surface-to-surface missiles, supplemented by the couple of 5-inches and by 4 torpedoes, which is all good things, and then a pretty good ASW of 14. Again, a carrier's ASW is 15. So yeah, just with the 1 helicopter, but helicopters become less and less effective the more you have, and 1 makes a big difference, and post 1960-61 they will make a big difference to your anti-air warfare and to your anti-surface warfare as well as your anti-submarine. So down here is a summary of those various capabilities. If we have a look at my primarily anti-air and anti-surface, well, the first thing is I still retain the helicopter because in a few years' time it's going to be great. But although the basic statistics are the same, again, I've managed to forget to do diesel, so there's a little bit more wiggle room in there. But now we have 3 5-inch. That could possibly be 4 with diesel. So, more rounds per guns. I could cut that down to get 4. A couple of lights, 2 mediums, 1 director, 8 AA. 3 torpedoes, 20 mines, no extra ASW except for the torpedoes and the helicopter. We're still getting 10, which is pretty good, as well as 8 surface-to-surface missiles. So again, here's the summary of all that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Some experiments with more or better. I'm aware that I'm not constraining myself in any way around, say, money. So, you know, and the difference between a 3,000 ton or indeed a 2,800 ton and a 3,500 ton is not a lot less in capability, but oddly enough, a great deal cheaper. Because, you know, even trivial amounts of overweight, like 100 tons, takes nearly 1,000 tons to clear for reasons and stuff like that. So I hope you found that interesting. Obviously, the start of 1956, the first 6 months, will have to be delayed till the next video. But I think it's going to be well worth it because we'll be able to start with a much clearer intent as how to solve this problem of needing combined capability destroyers on relatively modest tonnage. I know compared to a First World War, this is the size of a cruiser, but we are trying to get a lot of capability into one hull here. So, thanks very much for watching. Hopefully next time my eye will have cleared up. And yeah, see you next time. Bye for now.